Hi, I'm Maury Gandy with JCI Live Austin. Today's October 9th, 2016, and I was using an intro from our previous JCI Live back 2 years ago. Actually, it was 3 years ago. At the end of the program, I'm going to share some of the clips from previous issues. Today's scripture is 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 5. It's having nothing to do with them. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, coveters, boasters, proud, blasphemies, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, Heidi, I think, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away, have nothing to do with them. For events here in the Austin area, next Saturday, the 9th annual Dogtoberfest will be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I have a video from 2 years ago when Stan Parrish was interviewed by David Mall. And Stan was going to be on the program, but he just got really busy. He'd been on our program a couple of years ago, actually for the last 3 years ago. And I found this interview from 2 years ago and asked Stan if we could use it. It's really a great shot that was recorded on the top of Mount Bunnell. While we're waiting for, there it goes.
Oktoberfest. You guys, this is your 7th year to have
correct.
Oktoberfest, and it's an amazing event. And you guys are really doing a lot for the community.
Right. So back in 2008, along with my partner Julie Strong, we decided we wanted to do something to help raise awareness in the Austin area about dog rescue. It was fine for the rescue groups to do their own individual events, but we wanted to do something bigger to help get more attention and get it out there in front of people. So we started Dogtoberfest. It's an event that we do once a year. We host Austin-based pet-related businesses along with local Austin rescue groups. Over the years, we've added different events, the costume contest, the wiener dog races. We've brought on national sponsors for different media, and it's just grown.
Wow.
It's really grown. It's been a lot of fun seeing it. This past year, we've had, I think, something like 6,000 or 7,000 people attend our one-day event.
Wow, and you know, some of the wiener races are just absolutely amazing.
They're fun.
They're so
fun.
Cute.
Yeah, to see those little dogs with their short little legs flying through the air, you can't comprehend how they can do it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And then you see the little ones who get distracted and go off to the sidelines just to say hi to people.
Wow. And you have the police department also participates in your event.
Right, so Austin is just a great city for dogs. Everybody is dog friendly. The event venue where we hold this at, every single store is dog friendly. You can take anything from a miniature schnauzer to a Great Dane in any of the stores. The APD group, the Austin Police Department, comes out every year with their canines, the German Shepherds, and they do a full-on demonstration. And the kids love it. It's good for the public, but it's also great for the kids.
Dogtoberfest is helping so many organizations in town, and a big part of what you guys are doing is helping organizations with puppy mill awareness.
Correct.
And what that's about, and how important it is to adopt an animal.
Right.
So let's talk about a little bit about that aspect of what you guys are doing.
Okay. So many people don't realize that when puppy mills are done with their breeder dogs, they end up getting dumped at the shelters because they don't have any more use for them. Or just general people whose dogs are not spayed, they're not neutered, they're having puppies, they're dropping them off at the shelters. If a rescue group doesn't get the dogs, or if somebody doesn't come and adopt them, those dogs are being euthanized. And there's literally hundreds of thousands of dogs being euthanized every month across the country. What Dog Rescue does is they go in and they save as many of those dogs as they can. They bring them into their organization, they put them into a foster home, they're provided all the veterinary care that they need, and it's completely nonprofit, 100%. People are donating their time, they're donating their homes, they're spending the money on the dog food, and then through donations, the rescue groups are able to pay for the veterinary bills to make sure that the dogs are healthy. There's many dogs that come in that are old, they're sick, they've got different health issues that never get adopted. So those stay as permanent fosters. So they'll be in somebody's homes for the rest of their lives, just staying comfortable, happy until their last days. The rescue groups do such a great job across Austin, across the country. Anybody that goes anywhere in the country, if you go out on a website called Pet Finder, you'll be surprised how many rescue organizations there are in every single city. And they'll have anywhere from 5 dogs to 50 dogs to 100 dogs, depending on the breed and how many dogs there are out there that need homes.
Wow. Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
And it's so exciting to see all the work you guys are doing, and all the vendors that you have come out have the same goal.
Right. Well, Austin is a very pet-friendly city. Over the past 7 years, Julie and I have developed such a great relationship with all these different businesses here in Austin. Anywhere from veterinarians to groomers to pet boutiques to trainers, they all come out in support of what we are about, and that is raising awareness about rescue as well as raising money.
So even if somebody can't come out to one of the Dogtoberfest events, they can still help you guys out with your efforts.
Right, you can donate on our website, dogtoberfestaustin.org. All of your donations are 100% tax deductible, and all the money goes to the local rescue groups that are chosen to benefit that year.
And with your organization, you don't have any paid staff members.
No. So Julie and I do this because we love it. We both have our full-time jobs. We have some wonderful volunteers that help us put on the event every year. Everywhere from one young lady who coordinates all the volunteers. This year's event, we had over 150 people that helped us put on the event.
Wow.
Anywhere from setup to breakdown to making sure that all the vendors needed what they, or had what they needed all day long, to people that were just there to help Julie and I if we needed something during the day, if we needed an errand run. We have people that help with our website, with all of our marketing, different people that work on the silent auctions, getting items donated. So nobody is paid. It's 100% because we love what we do and we want to help the dogs here in Austin.
So that means anything that anybody donates is going
100% goes straight to those rescue groups.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, if you want to make a donation, you can either make it directly to a
Yeah, 5 years ago, I believe it was, that Jamie was on the calendar for the German Shepherd. She took a picture of our oldest dog, Gideon, and now Jamie, the last couple of years, or the last 3 years, she's actually helped, and now she is in charge of the calendar at the German Shepherd Rescue Group that is part of Dogtoberfest. So we will be there, Jamie will be there, and the group, the German Shepherd Group, and be sure and check out the new calendar for 2017, which is will be highlighted that day. And also, events, okay, so that's Dogtoberfestaustin.org. Jonathan, if you could put that on the screen there so people could find that, so they can get information. It's going to be at the Domain this coming Saturday, the 15th, from 10 until 4 p.m. And also, in the area, you can take your family to Crow's Nest Farm every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So this will be it was yesterday, and then the 22nd, the 15th, 22nd, and 29th. Now, if you want to come in from Austin, I would recommend that you come in through Farm to Market Road 969. That's the historic route where the first settler in the Austin-Travis County area, was it was Reuben and Sarah Hornsby. And Hornsby Bend is on 969. And that's just east, or Manor is just east of Hornsby Bend if you go to 969. If you go to my website, my children's website, just the number 4, kidsmagazine.com/Austin in little letters, you will find 12 questions that I ask to help your kids learn about some of the history in the Travis County area. Okay, not Oktoberfest, but the justforkidsmagazine.com/Austin. And I have all kinds of information that is really, I think, just cool to know about our Travis County area. So if you take the historic route to go to Crow's Nest Farm for a fun day, you can just help teach your kids. Go into the / and at the bottom of Just for Kids magazine right now, you'll see a little puppy dog with some fall leaves, and that goes straight to the Austin area. I love history, and I just think it's really interesting, especially since I'm a Texas gal, and I have a lot of history on our family. Next week, I will talk with you about the Hog Eye Festival in Elgin. That will be Saturday, October 22nd. I think I have a little picture of a hog. So we'll learn a little history about Elgin next week, and what came into Elgin that is interesting. Elgin is like 19 miles east from Austin, just past Manor. I love history. Last week I was inspired by my own children's history page that I have online for families. I discovered that last Saturday, Gonzales, Texas celebrated the 181st year of the Gonzales Battle of 1835. And this clip I found on YouTube is from the 175th year, and it's just a little 4-minute clip, but really interesting, and I wanted to share that because it was just last Sunday that they celebrated that Gonzales Come and Take It battle. Jonathan, could you show that for us?
The eyes of Texas are upon you all the livelong day. The eyes of Texas are upon you. You cannot get away. Do not think you can escape them, and neither early in the morn. The eyes of Texas are upon you, till Gabriel blows his horn.
It started with a small cannon and a desire to be free. The war that eventually created the Republic of Texas was set in motion about an hour south of Austin. And in his search for all things uniquely Texas, News Head's Russell Wow takes us to where the fight for Texas independence began.
Texas history is about people who persevered, people who were determined, who fought all odds.
In Texas history, few places and events hold the significance of what happened in Gonzales.
We fired the first shots against the Mexican army in Texas here in Gonzales. We think that was one of the more significant events ever in the history of this country, certainly in the history of Texas.
With that shot, they started a piece of history that changed basically the world. For sure, United States, and absolutely changed Texas forever.
The Mexican army wanted to take back a cannon they'd placed in the city. The early Texans had a simple response: come and take it.
At that point, refused to give up the little gun and that led to the firing of the first shots for Texas independence.
The first shots included one believed to have been fired from this cannon, now immortalized on the flag.
We're so lucky to have the real gun here.
The historic cannon is on display so that visitors young and old can appreciate the results of that act of defiance.
To help keep Texas history alive, to allow them the ability to be so close to an artifact that's so terribly important to us.
Without Gonzales, there's no telling what Texas would look like, what the United States would look like, and perhaps the entire world would look like.
Now, nearly 175 years later, the city's call remains the same. Remember Gonzales. Russell Wild, News 8.
October 5th will mark the 175th anniversary of the Battle of Gonzales. The city's raising money to restore and improve the monument and museum.
So that was 181 years ago that they celebrated last week in Gonzales. And I found out that my great-great-great-aunt's sister-in-law was Naomi DeWitt, who the flag was made out of her wedding dress. So last week, God was telling me to go deeper. And with the stress of the presidential race getting out of control, I chose to take a break from the news this week and spend some time in researching my Texas ancestors. I've not done that in several years. Not just several, probably 20 years since I've done that. I knew names, and that my first Texas ancestor was Samuel Barrow, who came to Gonzales in 1839. But why did he bring his family? Years ago, I found documents that he was granted 640 acres, but had not found the location of the property until just Friday. I found the 1,850 census, 1850 census in Gonzales that had him listed as a different spelling in his last name actually is. I saw the top of the page listed as Peach Creek. And then I remembered his land grant said Pecan Creek near the Colorado River in Austin, Texas County. But the census has him in Gonzales. So I started looking at a Google map at Peach Creek near the Guadalupe River, and I found a Pecan Creek right there. And I could see an aerial view of where my ancestors had once settled 177 years ago. It was really a cool feeling. Then I discovered some sad facts, some facts that I want to find out more about history and what my ancestors were really going through. When Samuel Barrow came to Texas, he brought his wife, 2 daughters, and 3 sons, and that year they had a 4th son. His 14-year-old daughter married Christopher Columbus DeWitt, who was Green DeWitt's oldest son. And Green DeWitt is one of Samuel Houston's first settlers who brought many settlers to Texas. He died in Mexico the year before the Gonzales battle. His wife, Sarah DeWitt, had her daughter use her wedding dress to make the Come and Take It battle flag. That was in 1835. Samuel Barrow is found to have been a sheriff in Gonzales from 1845 to 1852 when he died. By 1862, all 4 of their sons was sent to battle in the Confederate Civil War. I have records of Samuel Sebastian Barrow Civil War when he enlisted in June 1862. He was hospitalized in Mississippi in November 1862, captured in July 1863, and was missing several times from the roll call. One document says that he claims to have been loyal when he was captured. He says he enlisted through false representation. And that has got me wondering, what false representation did he think that he had to be part of the Civil War with his three brothers? He was 30 years of age when he enlisted. He had a wife, an 8-year-old and 6-year-old daughters, and a son that was 4, who had a twin that had died the year before. And after the war ended, the record said he was released on May 11, 1865. He's reported to be killed or died in March 27th of 1862, but that's 3 months before he even enlisted. So it just makes no sense. It said he was killed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So much does not make sense. After the Civil War, his wife marries his older brother, and they had a son named after her husband that was killed in the Civil War. I had a relative that had told me this story. I wish I had a relative that told me this story. I want to know more about the Civil War, and why did he say that he enlisted through false representation? This had me thinking just yesterday about what was going on. I remember my grandfather had said something about the Cherokee Trail of Tears, and I want to know more information on that and how that was related to their story. And I started reading some of the book from Hillary's America that we watched a couple of months ago, and some of the documentation of what was really going on in the political environment that affected our families and where we live today. And I think all of this is fresh in my mind because we are such a strange time with our political environment. Almost everyone I know doesn't like either one of the candidates that are running. There's so much corruption that has been going on. And I'll share something with you after I want to show this. The Senate, Ted Cruz was not able to stop Obama from taking away control of the internet. And just the other day on Facebook, Senator Mike Lee made a video on Friday after hearing Donald Trump's tape. John, can you play that?
Hi, I'm Senator Mike Lee. I'm speaking to you tonight from my home in Utah. I've been thinking a lot this evening about our candidate, the Republican candidate for President of the United States. I've been thinking a lot about some of his statements and how they're affecting people, how they make me feel. You know, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have a mother, and I have 5 sisters, all of whom I love dearly. It's occurred to me on countless occasions today that if anyone spoke to my wife or my daughter or my mother or any of my 5 sisters the way Mr. Trump has spoken to women, I wouldn't hire that person. I wouldn't hire that person, wouldn't want to be associated with that person. And I certainly don't think I'd feel comfortable hiring that person to be the leader of the free world. It occurs to me that although these were not my sisters, this wasn't my daughter, my wife, or my mother to whom Donald Trump was speaking or of whom he was speaking. This was somebody's sister. This was somebody's daughter. In some cases, it may have been somebody's mother or somebody's wife. The fact is, we have been asked to settle. We've been asked to settle time and time again with our government, and we've been asked to settle on matters of great principle with our candidate for President of the United States. This can't continue. It's time for us not to settle. It's time for us to expect more. We have to remember that as Republicans, as conservatives, we have succeeded precisely to the degree that we have abided by certain principles that have animated this country and fostered the development of the greatest civilization the world has ever known. It is those principles, and only those principles, that will help us win in November. That's the only way to get there. Meanwhile, as we've been asked to settle, we've been given a huge series of distractions. Mr. Trump himself has acknowledged this and identified this series of events tonight as a mere distraction. Well, with all due respect, sir, you, sir, are the distraction. Your conduct, sir, is the distraction. Is the distraction from the very principles that will help us win in November. You yourself, sir, Mr. Trump, have stated repeatedly that the goal, the objective, has got to be to defeat Hillary Clinton in November. I couldn't agree more. It's for precisely that reason, Mr. Trump, that I respectfully ask you, with all due respect, to step aside, step down, allow someone else to carry the banner of these principles that have made our country great, these principles that will stand as a beacon of hope to the American family, rather than weighing down the American people, rather than weighing down the very principles that will help us win in November. It's time for us all to come together. It's time to expect more. There's no need for us to settle. There will be time to figure out the who. Right now, we've got to be focused on the what. And that what has to involve our greatest, our most noble principles. Let's move forward. My fellow Americans and my fellow Republicans, let's find a candidate who can carry that banner without distraction and without settling. Thank you very much. May God bless the United States of America.
He really has a great point. We need integrity in our country, not iniquity. And we have two candidates that are about as corrupt as we could possibly have. Last week, I did not have time to share Ted Cruz on September 28th with the DHS official. The official admits to allowing refugees into the United States based on their testimonies alone. And that's a 4-minute clip I want to share with you this week.
It's got the DHS letterhead at the top, and the memorandum says, and I'm quoting from it, ICE's refugee program is particularly vulnerable to fraud due to loose evidentiary requirements, where at times the testimony of an applicant alone is sufficient for approval. As a result, a range of bad actors who use manufactured histories, biographies, and other false statements, as well as produce and submit facetious supporting documentation, have exploited this program. And the memo goes on to note that in many instances, the applicant for a benefit, including both asylum and refugee status, receives a government-issued document that contains the biographic information that the applicant supplied. This document can then be used for many things, such as obtaining a driver's license. Now, this strikes me as a recipe for fraud, that if we are allowing refugees to come in without supporting information, tell us who they claim to be, and we're letting them in, despite the fact that the director of the FBI has told us they cannot vet these refugees to make sure they're not terrorists, how can we possibly be confident that the refugees coming in are not in fact terrorists seeking to murder innocent Americans?
What I am telling you is that I would not give that document a whole lot of credit, because whoever that person was did not do the homework to learn about our process. We can talk about real gaps, real issues, real areas of risk. That document was written by somebody who did not take the time to familiarize themselves with our program.
Do you disagree with the passage I read, though?
I disagree.
So is it true or false that the testimony of the applicant alone can be sufficient for approval?
It is considered, it depends on the case. Usually we do have extensive documentation. Syrians in particular present with extensive documentation, passports, military records. So there is documentation that we review. In fact, if you come to one of our refugee settlement centers, you'll see piles of documents
Mr. Rodriguez,
on the table.
it's a very simple question. My time is expired, but I just would like to get an answer to this question. Is it true or false that the testimony of the applicant alone can be sufficient for approval?
There are cases where the testimony is not necessarily corroborated by documents, but it is always tested against country conditions and other information. That's why it doesn't lend itself in the way that you're asking the question, Senator.
Are you saying it's true or you're saying it's false? I'm just trying to understand.
No, I am acknowledging that, yes, testimony can be the basis for the grant of a refugee, but it needs to be tested against other information that we know about the country conditions at a minimum.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Rodriguez, all of you work for the people of the United States. This is the Congress of the United States. We have a right to ask questions. We expect unbiased, objective answers. And he took too long to get you to acknowledge that answer. And I don't appreciate it. And I'll just tell you, others doubt the validity of this program and how effective it is. Yesterday, Director Comey of the FBI before the House under oath testified the challenge will be, talking about the hopeful defeat of ISIL, at least taking away their territory, and he said the challenge will be, through the fingers of that crush of ISIS, are going to come hundreds of very, very dangerous people. They will not all die on the battlefield in Syria and Iraq. There will be terrorist diaspora sometime in the next 2 to 5 years like we've never seen before. He added, quote, "We must prepare ourselves and our allies, especially in Western Europe, to confront that threat, because when ISIL is reduced to an insurgency and those killers flow out, they will try to come to Western Europe and here to kill innocent people," close quote. And what he's saying is, we don't have a system that can stop that from happening. And it can happen in a lot of different ways. And I'm uneasy that you're reluctant to acknowledge the dangers that we have. You're in charge of it. He's in charge of security too, and he admits there are dangers. And I'm just not happy about it. Just want you to know. And I believe Senator Cruz is correct to say there's a willful blindness here, just a refusal to acknowledge plain reality.
Willful blindness. We can't be blind anymore. We've got to know what's going on. We've got to be involved. Here at Channel Austin, or Austin Public Access, we have political shows that help educate who's running. Pokey and Chris of the Trailer Park Show is on Monday nights from 7 to 8. Mike Lee has a political show right after that on Channel 10. And this season I've tried to help educate as much as I can on integrity, what's going on in the Senate, and what Ted Cruz is doing as our senator. I found an article, and Jonathan will put it up. It's a pretty long article, but I want to read it because I think it's really important. It's not recent. It's fairly few months ago, but it says, "Beware of the useful idiots." Recall Hillary did her college thesis on his writings, and Obama writes about him in his books. Saul Alinsky. He died 43 years ago, but his writings influenced those in political control of our nation today. He died on June 12, 1972. I was still in school at that time. He was educated at the University of California. He's written books called Rules for Radicals and Reveal for Radicals. There's 8 rules now in play that's going on right today. How to create a social state. And this is not something that we want to have. 8 levels of control that must be obtained before you create a social state. People, this is witchcraft manipulation that the Bible tells us. Number 1, health care. Control health care and you control the people. Poverty, number 2. Increase poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you provide everything for them. Number 3, debt. Increase debt to unsustainability. Number 4, gun control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from government. That way you are able to create a police state. Number 5, welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives: food, housing, income. Number 6, education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what their children learn in school. Number 7, religion. Remove the belief in God from the government and from schools. Number 8, class welfare. Divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. This will cause more discontent, and it will be easier to take taxes from the wealthy with the support of the poor. Does any of this sound like what's happening to the United States? Alinsky merely simplified Vladimir Lenin's original scheme for a world conquest by communism. Under Russian rule, Stalin described his converts as useful idiots. The useful idiots have destroyed every nation in which they have seized power and control. It's presently happening at an alarming rate in the United States. It is difficult to free fools from the chains they revere. Wow. Is that a wake-up call, babies? I mean, because of my belief in babies not being aborted is what has woken my eyes up years ago. And just the whole corruption that is going on today is just, wake up, America, wake up. The last part of the program is some of our previous JCI live clips with my husband before he died. And thank you. We'll see you again next week with more events and what's going on.
Hello and welcome to JCI Live, Austin, Texas, USA. My name's Craig Gandy and thank you for joining me this evening. Been a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas, another warm one, but I believe we're going to be catching some cooler weather in the days ahead, and you know, God's with us whatever we're going through. I think sometimes as we face the struggles, face the challenges, embrace the triumphs and the victories, that we know God is involved in every step of our life. You know, I had to talk to someone recently and I said, you know, we have to trust God with everything we are, with everything that He wants us to be, and know that His timing is always perfect, even though sometimes we seem like we're taking a long, windy path as we're trying to get on that pathway up to the throne of God. You know, God is good. God is good all the time.
Our first live season began in the fall of 2009. Today we're going to take a few moments to reflect back on some of our previous programming. Thank you for being part of JCI Live Austin on Channel 11.
well get up. You might as well get up and dance, girl. Might as well dance. You might as well get up. You might as well get up and dance now. Dance. Might as well get up. Get up. Might as well get up. Get up.
It's not cooking, it's just going to be getting some fruits and vegetables and getting them in you. The most important thing in your body is to make it alkaline, and alkaline is putting a lot of fruits and vegetables. And also start your morning off with water. If you like cold water, drink a glass of cold water during the day. Add some fresh minerals in there to enhance the alkalinity of it, so that helps your metabolism get going. So what we're going to do first, we're going to do some chopped ice in a blender. Most people have a blender. And this is my youngest daughter's favorite. She just loves to make these fruit drinks in the morning. We're just going to take a banana here and throw it in there. And I have a peach and some orange juice. Juice of just one orange. Just dump that in there. And it's watermelon season, so I'm going to put some chunks of watermelon in here. Just get creative here. Add whatever you want. And you know what? I'm going to add some cinnamon, because cinnamon helps our brain. It boosts that brain activity there. So, and I love the flavor of cinnamon. Notice I'm not putting any sugar in there. This is all natural. Then I'm going to put on the cap. Take long at all. Now I'm going to pour it into a beautiful glass, and look, I have enough for two. So let me get a glass over here, because I'm going to share this with somebody in my family. Probably my daughter, who's behind the camera this morning. Thank you, Jamie Gandy, for helping us out today. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make something, a cilantro dip. You know, I didn't even know what cilantro was, but I found out that herbs are really good and spices for our brain. So what I'm going to do is this is just one bunch of cilantro, and I'm going to put it in the blender. And it doesn't even matter that I've used that blender with the vegetables earlier, because the little vegetable in this is great too. And then I'm going to add the juice, about 2 tablespoons with the lime. The main ingredients for this is the lime, the cilantro, and olive oil. Olive oil is very good for our bodies to put a little bit in there. Now, this is not going to have any preservatives in it, so you can use it for dressing. Just put about 1/4 of a cup in there. Now, I'm going to chop this up for just a minute, and then I'm going to add some more vegetables. Now, I'm going to add some more health in here. 1 garlic clove that I've chopped up. And then I've got a tomato and just a couple of slices of bell pepper. This is where you can add whatever you want. Any kind of vegetables you want to add in here, just add it. And I like onions. It's very healthy for you, so I'm going to put some onions in there. And then I found that basil. I grow my own basil. I have my herb garden outside now. And I add basil in there because it boosts the metabolism, and my body needs that boost for my metabolism. Just blend it in real good. That's the dip. You can't get any better of a dip than this. Now what I'm going to do is I have already made, because I like to add a little bit more to my dip, is I have some cilantro chopped up in here, and I have mango, which is really good to boost your metabolism. Also, it helps your nervous system, makes you calm. So I'm just going to add this, and also have some tomatoes in here, and that's all I had. A few chopped up. Then you just mix that together. And you have a wonderful dip that will last you in the refrigerator for days. And I like, instead of potato chips, which you can use your chips in there, I like to slice a zucchini squash and use that for my dip. Healthy eating is so important. Thank you, and you have a great day. Get back with the rest of the show. Thanks again. This is Maury Gandy at JCI World News. For more recipes, you can go to our site online, www.jciworldnews.com. Have a great day. Bye.
Your light shine brighter. Let your stars radiate. Let your love fall on me today. Let your grace grow wider. Let me speak out your name. Let your blood cover me today. Let your heart beat louder. Let my sins fade away. Let your spirit fill me out today.
There. And y'all, that's the glory that he's wanting to bestow upon y'all as y'all spread his goodness throughout the world. Nations will run to you. You know, we already are reaching nations tonight. You know, God's pretty cool with scriptures, you know, too. But anything anybody want to add? Y'all, when are y'all playing lives next?
What is it? March?
March.
We have 3 things in April, so March is off right now, but we'll be playing Liberty Hills, having a barbecue cook-off.
Okay.
At the end of the month, playing that, and then we'll be playing at Dahlia on
Right.
April 10th
Mhm.
in Liberty Hill as well.
Right.
We love Liberty Hill. What's up, Liberty Hill?
Liberty Hill,
And,
Burbank, in Marble Falls, we were in that area of country for our,
Oh yeah, and of course, every Sunday we're leading worship at Rockbridge.
Rock Bridges. And where's the location of Rock Bridge in?
It's at 1001A. I believe it's at the Cox Elementary School in
Right.
Cedar Park.
Okay.
It's 183A in Brushy Creek.
Okay, all
So-
right, I know where that's at out there.
Yeah.
But we're looking at, we're in the process of moving and have been for a couple months now, looking where we want it to be. And Cedar Park is one of the final, choices. There's a place in Cedar Park, a place in Round Rock, and but we've fallen in love with East Austin. You know, the people here in East Austin have embraced us. You know, I'm on Pokey's show on Monday night. It's the Trailer Park Show. He calls me the Trailer Park Preacher, you know, because I bring a little bit of God into us, you know, kind of unruly guys sometimes. And we met on Facebook, and I talked about that last week. 200 million people before I got on there, and I've met people of glory all over the world. but I love his heart for ministry. And God has just blessed me with having people on my Facebook just love to encourage one another and share God's love with one another. And Pastor Thomas is one of those. Pastor Thomas, Carlos Giamthi is the pastor there in Russia. Beginning of 2009, I told my children, told my family, that God was wanting to release his glory all over Asia. I just felt it in my spirit. I felt that there was a cloud of glory, an open heaven over Asia. I felt that the number of people that would come to know Jesus Christ was going to expand exponentially because of what he was doing in Asia. Now, no one, I didn't have any confirmation from anyone. I was seeing it. I was seeing outbreaks of glory everywhere. But the words that were being, wasn't hearing it from a lot of the prophets. Till Sean Foyt came through this weekend. The glory that's released. The glory that's released. And this is, just a touch of what's going on. Warfare for one thing, but you're right about the churches coming together. That's what's been exciting that we've seen since almost the past years. You start seeing the people in the churches that it doesn't matter. It's like the Global Day of Prayer. Yeah. There were so many churches that had pulled together for that. So it was like 4 or 5 churches that would be meeting in one church, and then, but this was happening all over the city. And so it's neat to see.
Even with the Global Day, a friend of mine down in Australia is working on the Gold Coast of Australia, working pretty hard with the Global Day. So that's taking effect. I think that in this hour we're going to see the Lord do some really wonderful things. I think that He's just bringing us back to the rawness of our faith, just that between us and Him, and us, Him and us. And exactly. I don't think it needs to be more than that. I think that when they came to the Lord and they spoke to Him and they asked Him what was the greatest commandment, we know that they were testing Him, but he answered, just to love the Lord your God with your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And I don't think we need to graduate from that. I think just stay in that place of loving the Lord and giving our heart to Him in prayer and our heart to Him in worship. And I think that the Lord's teaching was just so powerful because it was so simple.
I agree, totally.
And I think that in this hour, I think for many of the decades that have gone before us now, we've had all the froth and the bubble and the stuff that looks like it's got something, but there's no substance inside of it.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that the church has been devoid of the work of God, but I'm saying that I think we're coming full circle where, back 30, 40, 50 years ago, we hear the stories and read the books about what God used to do, and there's now a hunger for let's see the Lord do something here today in church, or right there at home with you where you are. Let's believe for God to touch you today. Let's believe that God, who is a spirit, who's a living spirit, there's no distance between Him and where you are is the same as where we are and where He is.
That's right.
He's a living person. He's a living spirit. He's a living being. Let's believe that God's going to do something today. He just tells us to believe. That's all He wants us to do.
That's right. That's right.
And so I think that we're coming to that point where we don't want it to be about the form of our religion. We don't want it to be about what God is doing in pastor or what God is doing in you or what God is doing in me. We want our testimony about what God is doing in us.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it exactly. When we enter into that fellowship with Him, that relationship with Him, where you spend your time with Him and you get to know Him. I get a lot of letters that the kids sometimes ask me. They say, "Well, you haven't responded to this letter yet." And I try to respond to everyone that writes, because there's not everyone that agrees with Jesus being the way, the truth, and the life, for one thing. But even in the Christian community, there are people of different religions that want to focus on the religion instead of the relationship. There were a couple of times this week where I had people that were more interested in, what I mentioned earlier about the, being positive about our relationship with Jewish people. They did not see that as a plus. They saw that as a real, what do you want to be?
Wow.
Turn to Matthew 23, how Jesus had chastised the scribes and the Pharisees, and that's the way we are to be with the Jewish people. And I said, no, I'm sorry. But, to take the time to answer it thoughtfully. Because I don't want to separate him with his search for Jesus, but you want to share truth in a thoughtful manner. And I had someone else that wrote, that's their way was the only way, but they believe in Acts 2:38, where the one scripture in the Bible where it says to baptize in the name of Jesus only. So it's a oneness Pentecostal is what he turned out to be. And I was raised in a Baptist church, which was a oneness kind of Baptist thinking. And but the questions I'd ask as a child, were, well, if Jesus was on the cross and he was saying Father, who was he talking to? It just there was just so much in the Word that just proved that differently.
That childlike faith,
That's
just
right.
keeps coming through. I think of Romans 11, and I think it's verse 17, where it talks there about how, with the Jewish nation, about how we shouldn't really look down on them because we're like the wild branch
That's right.
that's been grafted into the cultivated vine, and
That's right.
and we can now draw from the fatness of the root.
Exactly.
Fantastic. That's
Exactly.
the gift that God has given to us. But they're the foundation, and they sink the roots first into the soil of God's work. So. It's from the fatness of that root that we now stand because of the work of the Jew whose name was Jesus, who was the Messiah.
That's right.
We can now stand in that place and we can know God personally.
That's right.
Those who have been in meetings that I've been at, you don't have to be too many before I start talking about